Yes, obviously with Bucks we've won it for 31 years in a row now, so what comes with that is a lot of pressure. Then we've got Ewan and Rich working very close by, so I tend to hear a lot more about every defeat that we get.
I think certainly there's a lot of pressure to win Bucks. I remember when I was AU president, every Wednesday you're looking at all the results coming in and praying that there's a lot of wins.
Whenever you see a loss, you take it really personally. You kind of think, oh, I want to go out there and I want to win it for them. A joke gets passed down every year whereby if you don't win Bucks, your name's going on the Athletic Union President's board in black, not in the gold that it is. And I think that's a tradition that will continue, but it is getting harder and harder.
I think each year there's different changes to the system, and some years are have a better crop than others. I think it's quite hard to pin down the Athletic Union President as personally responsible for the Bucks total.
I think that's someone spoken by someone that's actually probably not got as many points as either Ewan or myself yet. I definitely think there's a lot of banter between us all saying who's got the most and who's got the most points difference, and I think we always look for different ways to kind of have a little joke with each other.
I think for me, certainly there's quite a big opportunity to focus on other things aside from Bucks. One of the really exciting projects that I was lucky enough to work on when I was AU president was the rebrand of Loughborough Sport. We came up with a new logo, a new shield, worked with the clubs, worked with the Sports Development Centre, which has never really been done before, so that was really exciting. And also all the other stuff like the AU Ball, Superstars, Half Living Week.
And it's focusing on the whole kind of student sport experience. So even from little things such as producing the WOW magazines to wider stuff such as Superstars and Health Living Week, where you can bring in participation from all members of the EU.
Yeah, so the kit and rebrand is actually something that's really interesting to see the development of. It was something that was originally started in my year, then Ewan's built on it and taken it to a whole new level. Adam will be signing it off, and then actually next year's AU President will be delivering it, so you've got 4 generations of AU Presidents involved in one project. And also I think it's seeing each individual club develop. There's certain clubs that really push themselves, and being able to support them that really, whereby they're pushed in to go to a new level, such as basketball for example. You know, it's really exciting to see them doing that themselves.
One of the other things that we focus a lot on is the volunteers, and especially with not all the volunteers are through Bucks, but seeing them volunteers develop throughout the year. So currently all the clubs are very student-led. They have a high degree of control of their club, they control the finances, they control what they spend the money on to a good extent. They have an active part in recruitment, and they have a good say in what the club actually does. So at the moment it's very student-led, so in big decisions we like to involve them and like to let them have the final say.
I think that's one of the key strengths of the Athletic Union, in that it is very student-led, and that the students elect the AU President. They also elect their club chair, man or woman, and their whole committee, and that committee gets empowered to make quite a lot of decisions as to in which direction their club goes and how they spend their money. And so the Athletic Union really gives students that opportunity to grow themselves and to grow their own club, and it's a really positive thing that we do, I think.
Yeah, and you can definitely tell straight away when you've got a good committee, they really push the club forward and they really strive to make their club better and better. And I think that's really, really positive to see, with new adaptation every year. Yeah, it's really, really great seeing the IMS strength. It's got such depth in the IMS programme, with 16 different halls taking part. I think there's 29 different sports and 48 or 47 different leagues and events throughout the year. In total, I think there's way over 1,500 students taking part, so a massive programme, one of the biggest in Europe, if not the biggest, and strongest as well.
Yeah, IMS is a huge part of my life as a student. I was in Faraday Hall. I was a sports sec for Faraday Hall, so it means I organised the IMS sport basically. I think IMS is brilliant. It's a great opportunity for students to get involved in a whole range of sports, even things that they've never perhaps tried before. Probably one of my IMS highlights was playing water polo, which I'd never played before, but we just kind of cobbled a team together of people who could swim, and we ended up winning it. We beat Royce in the final, which was great, and then we had a big party that night. So yeah, I think IMS is a fantastic thing that Loughborough does, and quite unique as well to what we offer.
On that as well, I think the IMS programme and the IMS offer at Loughborough is truly unique. It is definitely the best throughout the country in terms of the amount of sports it caters for, the amount of leagues and events that it has going on as well, and at the end of the day the amount of people involved. The standard of IMS is brilliant as well. It's very well organised. and you get people that play because they want to win and play because they want to get involved in sport.
Yeah, and IMS is getting stronger and stronger every year. It's really interesting to see how competitive it's getting, with even some people dropping out of the AU clubs to play IMS, and it's, I think, credit to the IMS system to show how strong it is becoming. I think there's just such a good rapport within each team that they really enjoy it socially, and I think it's
friendly rivalry as well.
yeah, sometimes not so friendly, but
Most of the time friendly.
but yeah, it's brilliant fun. Everyone really enjoys it, and I think that's the most important thing.
And it helps when you win it 3 years in a row.
I think it's a really interesting and exciting project. It's something that's never been done before. Over the next 3 years, we've got targets set to us by Sport England of 3,500 students becoming actively involved in sport at a recreational level. So some being coached, some just being turned up and playing and enjoying it. And that's what we're trying to put within the system, is that actually it's just turning up and playing, removing the barriers. So facilities are often hard to get. The price of joining a club or playing for your hall or doing anything like that sometimes puts people off, or joining a gym. So actually it's removing the barriers, and it's a really exciting new project. In year one, we've got a hit, I think it's around 650 new participants. We were 6 months late starting, and we started it and launched it in Healthy Living Week. Since then, within the last 2 weeks, we've actually hit over 400 people. So well over half our target within 2 weeks, which is brilliant. We're also looking at engaging with volunteers as well, which is again really important to the whole ethos of Loughborough Sport, actually getting the students to lead on it. So by the time it comes in year 3, we'll be looking at having the students lead the programme. So these students are really important to us because they're leading on it, and by year 3 our funding will run out from Sport England, and it's really important that the legacy of it is that actually the students are leading on it, because the capacity isn't going to be there. So we will be looking for some external funding by the time it comes around in year 3, because without that funding our programme will ultimately shrink, and that's not what we want. We want to continually extend and progress the programme. So it's really exciting new 3 years ahead of us.
Yes, one of the key areas of the role is working with volunteers. We have around about 100 volunteers who have signed up to the programme, which is really positive. At the start of the year, we train them up and give them all sorts of skills that they can use when they're volunteering at sports events. So far this year, we've had some really exciting projects to work on. Loughborough hosted the BBC East Midlands Sports Awards, which we had about 35 volunteers helping out at. We also, in the summer coming up, we have the Loughborough International Athletics, which promises to be a really exciting event, which we're also helping to facilitate. And just generally throughout the year, these guys help out at various sports events, help support everything that's going on campus, and it's a really kind of popular programme, and something which, like Rich said with the Active University, something which I hope to develop long after I'm gone and keep moving from strength to strength.
It's really promising. It's a great time to be at Loughborough as a student. You're never going to get this opportunity again. In kind of a lot of people saying it's a chance of a lifetime. We've obviously launched a medal maker program, so it's basically looking at engaging volunteers again, but obviously on a big scale. So we've got the British and the Japanese teams coming here as a base camp, which is really exciting. The volunteers and the students as part of that are going to get the opportunity to live, work and actually be next to all the GB athletes and the Japanese athletes, whereby they're going to be supporting them and getting medals. So yeah, it's a really exciting time to be on campus and to be a student here at Loughborough now.
I think moving forward, one of the big challenges is obviously going to be 9,000 fees, and with the 9,000 fees, it's obviously going to bring in other things such as the Wednesday afternoons, if we're going to be able to keep them free for sport. If people are going to decide that they no longer want the Wednesday afternoon for sport and they prefer to do it, have that as study time and go to the library, I think that's one of the major challenges, certainly of the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I think certainly, like Adam alluded to, the £9,000 fees when they start next year, no one really knows what's going to happen and how that's going to change the sort of student dynamic, whether less people who want to play sport are going to apply to university, or whether they're going to pursue sport outside of university, whether or not the people who are at university are going to want to invest that same time in sport when they could be studying. So it's a real kind of period of change for higher education, I think, certainly for sport as well. So time will only tell how that pans out, but I think here at Loughborough, because of the sort of history and the reputation we've got, I think we're all quite hopeful that we'll still continue to attract those sort of high-performing sports people and those people who are still keen to get involved in the environment.
I think, as you say, nobody really knows how it's going to affect us until it comes along.
And I think with the £9,000 fees, people are going to be expecting value for money. So we need to make sure what they're getting is not just quantity but quality as well. So they're getting time within the facility. So we don't just bring them in and say, look at all our great facilities, and then when they're here, they don't get to use them. It's really important that actually they get to experience that as well.
Just the other kind of big challenge I think for Loughborough Sport is facilities. Just we're looking at getting rid of a couple of facilities, but we need to try and invest and make better use of the facilities we already have, because there's always an increasing demand from clubs and societies, people that want to get involved and play sport.
Yeah, I think it's very important. I think the relationship, having a strong relationship between the two is really will help us both, and we'll both benefit from it. Since I've started, some of the Sports Development Centre staff have moved into the Students' Union, and that's something that we've really seen a lot of benefit from. It's made it a lot easier when we're having to book facilities and having to change training times over and all the rest of it, which before used to be a big sort of hassle. We used to have to go over to a different building and pick up the phone and email, whereas now we can just walk around the corner and have a chat. Also the fact that Rich and I now work for the Sports Development Centre, having both been AU presidents, really helps you see the other side of the fence, and again helps SDC see the AU's perspective as well. So I think it's really positive, and I think the relationship is really important.
I think just bringing it together, I think the SDC and the EU working together now meant we're able to see the bigger picture, and that's not just each of us working by our own, but seeing this bigger picture and wanting to improve student sport experience as a whole and focusing on the students.
Yeah, I think we all agree that the relationship is really important, and I think it's really evident in the last few years. We've had some joint projects. For example, this whole rebranding you can see around us, and also the joint kit deal, which we spoke about briefly earlier. The fact that we're now going to have Cookery as our kit sponsor, are going to be supplying all of our kit, not only for the AU clubs but also the SDC staff. And the fact that we've worked together on that has really kind of been a big positive step forward, and I think something that will be really good for the future.
Yeah, and I think that just ties in exactly with what the SDC and the AU's aims are now with the students. The students are going to get the cheaper price kit, they're going to get it delivered much better, and at the end of the day we're going to look like a much better team, all wearing similar kit and with the same badge on. I don't think it's going to change in the next couple of years, I hope. I think one of the big things again is the 9,000 fees. Nobody knows how that's going to affect sport, and certainly in terms of recruitment. We're not sure what kind of athletes that's going to bring here, because for us it's not just the performance sports that do well, it's the much wider the strength and depth that we have right through the board. I think make sure that we're number one.
I think we've got a really strong infrastructure though, something that has been built over the last 30 years. It's not something that's just magicked up, it's been worked on, and it's hard work over the last 30 years. And even over the last year or two, whereby you've now got Sport Park and you've got so many governing bodies, and our relationship with those governing bodies has increased, and as a result of that, what our students are getting back from that relationship is really positive. So I think, in the near future, I think it's really, really positive still for us. But what seems to be the trend is that some universities are chipping away at certain sports, and whereby where we're winning at the moment is actually at depth. But obviously we've got to continue with that depth and make sure that continues, because universities are starting to chip away.
I think certainly the question, do we have the ability to stay number one? I think certainly we'd all agree Loughborough definitely has the ability to stay number one. I think just the key to it, like we're all agreeing, is that we just can't get complacent in the fact that other universities are going to chip away at sports, and they'll perhaps win a few games here and a few games there, but we need to really stay one step ahead of the game, and just continue to keep improving and not rest on our laurels. Although we have won 31 years Bucks in the past, and we're having great success in national leagues, to really make sure we keep pushing that forward and don't let it slide.
I think all three of us would probably say the AU ball for different reasons, but I think if you take that away, I think for me it's possibly the BBC Sports Awards. It's the first time it happened here on campus, in a major event whereby again the SDC, but not just the AU were working on it, but also societies and the media, and it brought in something that everyone could work on and be involved with.
I think it's a really difficult question. I mean, you have so many highlights. It's such a great year. There was so much going on. Certainly, like Rich said, there's so many highlights. It's kind of hard to pin down one. I think for me, the AU ball was a fantastic night. It was one I'd worked really hard on, and to see everyone together celebrating was really good. We also, for the first time ever, we organised a kickboxing fight night in Room 1, which was against Bath, which won, which was really good as well. But I think actually one of the main highlights for me was the launch of the sporting club, which we were all part of. It was done in the House of Lords. I was fortunate enough to get an invite, and there was some kind of really high-profile Loughborough alumni there. Seb Coe gave the opening speech, Clive Woodward was there, Andy Robinson, and just to be in that company in the House of Lords was something really special, and certainly a highlight for me that I'll never forget. So yeah, I think that was a definite highlight.
So stuff like the big match that we trialled this year, we had one fixture every week that was key. I thought that was really good in terms of highlighting and great publicity for the clubs. So from my point of view, I really enjoyed that. Then you go back to the traditional stuff like having Hey You every Wednesday night, where you're out socialising and celebrating with sports members.
Thursday mornings when it was great.
Yeah.
Thursday mornings were definitely low light.
Follow me on Twitter.
Probably don't want him to follow you on Twitter, mate, after some of your comments.
The two probably don't go hand in hand.